Welcome, and thank you all for joining us as we celebrate the opening of the Allen Institute building. I'm Rick Horwitz, the Executive Director of the Allen Institute for Cell Science, the new guy on the block. And for the past year, I've been on an incredible journey, launching and building a team for an institute that will change the way we do cell science. I thank everyone who has supported us over these efforts through the year. We look forward, we'll be back to tell you what we've done soon. Now that you've seen it, isn't this building awesome? I've worked in many laboratory buildings, including some highly innovative ones, but this one's the best by far. We all are struck by its aesthetics, the beauty of the new building, its warm wooded interior, the abundant light, open interdigitating lab and workspaces, and its aesthetically and scientifically terrific location. However, I'm most impressed with how wonderfully this building lives, facilitating our research, supporting our daily work, promoting interactions, and supporting the spectrum of scientific activities from experiment to theory and modeling. Simply put, I've never seen or been in a building that matches its functionality or its aesthetics. One sees conversations throughout the building all the time, constantly. We meet colleagues in the central stairwell making connections that we had not anticipated, and the spaces work to support both personal work and the work and interactions in indescribable ways. This is a spectacular achievement, and we are grateful to the many people who designed and executed the building. Thank you. I'd like to now introduce Alan Jones, the Chief Executive Officer of the Allen Institute. There's a lot of Allens here, and I'm an Allen, but they wouldn't let me call myself Allen yet. Maybe I'll earn my stripes one of these days. So anyway, Alan joined the Allen Institute for Brain Science in 2003 and has been an instrumental force behind building multidisciplinary team science, getting engineers and managers, setting industry standards to answer questions in science, creating a new model for large-scale team science. Alan is an extraordinary leader with an impeccable character, a deep understanding of how teams work and their complex dynamics. He has amazing instincts and insight, unbounded energy and drive, and most importantly, he's a terrific person to work for. Alan.
Wow, thank you, Rick, for that amazing introduction. Welcome to all of you, and thank you again for joining us. More than a decade ago, Paul Allen had the keen vision to bring together some of the best and brightest minds in science with a commitment to accelerating our understanding of the human brain in both health and disease. In the years since, the team Paul assembled has not only been doing remarkable work, but has created resources and tools that enable thousands of other researchers around the globe to do remarkable work too. A year ago, for example, Paul, Rick, and the team launched the Allen Institute for Cell Science to investigate and model extremely complex machinery of human cells. The Institute for Brain Science, in the meantime, has been moving forward. They made a down payment on this amazing resource called the Allen Cell Types Database, which is really a down payment towards a periodic table of cell types within the brain. Here at the new Allen Institute building, both brain science and cell science will continue to operate under a multidisciplinary team science model in which we scale our research and create foundational resources to share openly with the public. So Paul, thank you for making all of this possible. Let's watch a brief video that offers a glimpse of our journey and what lies ahead. I think we've really established ourselves in the field of science as somebody who's trying something different.
So we are trying to do things at a scale that nobody else is doing in the biological sciences.
This is a brand new concept. We are an open science research organization.
What distinguishes us is the way that the science gets done.
Super excited. This is the first ever experiment for the Cell Science Institute.
This is the way that science should work. We not only talk about open science, we actually practice open science.
We spend a lot of time and resources on making the data along with the tools available.
Large-scale collaborative science with community input on the one hand and empowerment of the community on the other.
Biology is incredibly complex science. However, like anything, it is finite and it is ultimately knowable. And it's our challenge to bring that to light.
First time since our early days when we did the Mouse Brain Atlas project, the Allen Institute is finally back under one roof. We're really excited. It's a 270,000 square foot building, an amazing roof it is. And it was the site of the old Ford and Pacific McKay buildings. So the project took more than 2 years to complete. And a really pretty dramatic effort to put together. A few little fun factoids, 121,000 tons of soil excavated from the site. Because we're take advantage of being so close to the water, they kind of have to pump water out when they dig. So 70 million gallons of water was pumped out, treated and discharged. 21,000 cubic yards of concrete poured, 2,000 tons of reinforcing steel within the building structure, 7,500 square feet of stone on the building exterior, 65,000 square feet of glass on the building exterior. So it's a really extraordinary building. And again, it's something that we're so glad to be all under one roof. So a special thanks for getting this building put together goes to Vulcan Real Estate, our architects Perkin and Will, GLY Construction, and our own Allen Institute team led by Paul Wanutka, who really made everything happen to get this on schedule and create this amazing building. So next I'd like to please welcome Dr. Christoph Koch, President and Chief Scientific Officer of the Allen Institute for Brain Science, who will introduce our next speaker. Christoph.
Thank you, Alan. When I came here 4 years ago, after many years at a university, I came here at the Institute because I believe this is the best place where we can combine large teams of scientists from physics, from biology, from computer science and mathematics to focus on understanding the brain in a way that isn't possible anywhere else, because we can assemble these very large teams to do big science and then also to do open science. Now that Paul has given to us his new building, we have a tremendous responsibility ahead of us to take all those resources and to turn them into scientific knowledge and ultimately advances also that will help cure the pathologies that our brains are prey to. And so we very much thank Paul for all these resources and for this beautiful building that he's given us. From the very first charrette that we did many, many years ago, early in the 2000s, to the last year's workshop for cell science, we at the Allen Institute here rely on the advice of outside expert scientific boards and scientific council, and we take that council very, very seriously, and we do what they recommend. As a final note this evening, I'd like to recognize a few of the members that come here traveled to help us celebrate. So for the Allen Institute for Brain Science, I'd like to acknowledge, David Anderson, but I'll introduce him in a bit. Tom Daniel, who's here from the UW, Richard Gibbs, Kristen Harris, Arnold Kriegstein, David McCormick, Michael Stryker, and David van Essen. And some of these advisors have been with us for the past decade. So it's been a long voyage that we've undertaken together. For the Allen Institute for Cell Science, they also have advisory board committees just like us. And I'd like to welcome Bruce Alberts, Joan Brugger, and Charles Murray. And now it's my pleasure to welcome a very good friend and colleague of long standing and a very good friend to the Institute who's been us from the first. I think you were on the original boat. That's not the Mayflower. That's the original boat where we had the first charrette with Paul many years ago. Who's a Seymour Benza professor for biology and the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. at the California Institute of Technology. So David has been a member of various and continues to be a member of both the Scientific Advisory Board for the entire institute, as well he sits on the individual Scientific Advisory Council. Thank you. Let's welcome David.
Thank you, Christoph. I'm very glad to be here, everyone. Senator Paul, this is a very personal and moving day for me. My origins with the Institute go back to a summer evening in June of 2001 when I was sitting at a restaurant in Pasadena with my wife, Deborah, who's here, bemoaning the fact that there was no database of information about gene expression in the brain that anyone could go to and use. And what was really needed was a massive, systematic, coordinated, standardized effort under one roof to map the pattern of gene expression in the brain. And miraculously, about a month later, I was at Cold Spring Harbor teaching in a course, and Jim Watson came up to me after my lecture, and he said, David, there's a meeting in Seattle at the end of the month in July. It would be worth your while to be there. And I went to that meeting, and that was the first meeting when I met Paul, and Paul had assembled an otherwise illustrious group of scientists, including Richard Axel and many others, to advise him, Jim Watson, to advise him on what might be a target for philanthropic investment in neuroscience. And I suddenly realized that this was an opportunity to perhaps try to realize this idea of creating a gene expression atlas for the brain. And so I suggested that, and that, among other projects, became sources of discussion on the subsequent charrettes that we participated in, on the Tatouche. There were a lot of discussions back and forth about which way the Institute should go, and finally it came down on the side of focusing on basic neuroscience in a mouse model, and the idea that an atlas of gene expression for the brain would be the inaugural project of the Institute. And that was absolutely thrilling for me, but it could not have happened without Alan Jones's brilliant management and coordination, without the leadership of Mark Tessier-Levine and other members of the board. And it produced something really transformative, which was the Allen Brain Atlas. And this was transformative because it was unprecedented in its scale and completeness, a map of all 20,000 genes in the mouse genome and their expression pattern in the brain. It provided computational tools for annotating and searching and mining that database. And most importantly, it was free and open to the entire neuroscience community. It was a map that put the Institute on the map. It established a brand for the Allen Institute, which has continued to characterize all of its important scientific contributions forward. And I want particularly Senator Cantwell to understand what makes the Institute so unique. I view this as a nonprofit biotech company whose products are data and knowledge. It provides enabling platform technology and resources to the community, and it undertakes challenging problems that require interdisciplinary team collaborative approaches that could not be implemented in a standard academic setting and would not be funded by the NIH in the current conservative climate. It's really a Manhattan Project for the mind. And speaking of Manhattan projects, it's Christoph who's often likened his interaction with Alan Jones to that of Robert Oppenheimer and Leslie Groves at Los Alamos, the brilliant visionary scientist and the operational genius who keeps his imagination in check and on track. And it's an absolutely brilliant combination. And the fact that the Allen Institute now, I think, has arrived is illustrated by the fact that not only Christoph, but other scientists like Clay Reed, Steve Smith have left tenured faculty positions at institutes like Stanford and Harvard to come here and put their careers on the line to make the scientific vision here happen. And that it's attracted brilliant young investigators here to develop their careers in this non-academic, non-standard model. ABES has become a major player in brain science worldwide. It set much of the tone for the plans for the Obama Brain Initiative, on whose advisory panel I participated. And many of the calls for proposals that came out of the Brain Initiative were tailored to the kind of science that the Allen Institute is able to do. So I think what's most important about having a new building, a home for the Institute, is that it's not just one roof where all of this beautiful research and discovery is going to go forward, but it's going to establish an intellectual center for science in Seattle that is going to attract scientists from around the world, like you've had at the last symposium over the last few days, and make this a place like Cold Spring Harbor, like Genelia, like the Medical Research Council lab in Cambridge, England, where people want to come and exchange ideas. And I think what I see in the building is an embodiment of Paul's visionary and extraordinary commitment that expresses his confidence in the value and potential of the initiatives and the enterprises that are underway. And we as scientists had to work hard to earn that confidence, and we appreciate your trust and confidence in us, Paul. Thank you. So I'm looking forward to an exciting future here, the new Cell Science Institute, and just personally, there are very few times when one gets to see a dream turn into a reality. There's something both surreal and tangible about being here today for me, sort of like being at the Super Bowl and watching the Seahawks win the game. It's real, but it feels like a dream. I've viewed the Institute as partly my own baby from the beginning, and it's great to see it grow up and move into its new home. So on behalf of the neuroscience community and all of the other scientists who have benefited, thank you, Paul, for your vision and your generosity and all of the things that you've contributed.
Thank you, David. Of all the advisors that we've had over the years, I love David because he's the one person, when we talk about the Allen Institute, he always talks about it as we. He doesn't say you. He talks about it as we. So we really appreciate your comments. Thank you, David. So we're honored here today to have with us Senator Maria Cantwell, our esteemed United States Senator from the state of Washington. Senator Cantwell has led a distinguished career in both the public and private sectors. Before entering the U.S. Senate, Senator Cantwell served as a vice president for Real Networks. As one of the first women executives during the dot-com boom, Senator Cantwell helped build a company that created hundreds of high-paying jobs. She worked to develop the first technologies which allowed streaming audio and video over the internet. Since her election to the Senate in 2000, Senator Cantwell has been focused on developing an energy policy for the 21st century, restoring America's crumbling infrastructure, and protecting our environment for future generations. She's a champion for affordable, patient-centric health care. She is fighting to make the national health care system adopt the value and efficiency of Washington State's health care delivery system. Senator Cantwell has been a steadfast advocate for funding basic research that spurs human understanding and innovation. She's also a member of the Senate's National Institutes of Health Caucus. Please help me welcome Senator Maria Cantwell.
Sorry. Thank you, Alan. Thank you. Well, thank you, Alan, and good evening to everyone. It's great to be here with such a great, distinguished group of scientists, researchers, community leaders. My colleague, Jim McDermott, was here as well, and he, too, is a very big fan of basic research and of continuing the efforts here. I want to thank everyone for what they're doing, but first I want to thank Paul for all his accomplishments. Well, not all of them, because that would be here all night, but I want to say it's been truly amazing. Last year, his $100 million contribution to the Ebola effort made great strides, and we thank you for the tremendous impact that that had. And I want to say a special thanks to the organization of the Allen Foundation for working on the initiative that just recently passed to help protect exotic animals, and just this past week for your investment in the innovation mission in clean energy. So thank you for all of that. So I also want to obviously thank you for the generous efforts tonight and the incredible accomplishments of the Allen Institute. The Allen Institute for Brain Science will become the jewel of our community. Inside this building, the future of neuroscience will be forged through dedication, hard work, and cutting-edge science. Inside this building will be a home for a great understanding of the human brain. And as we learn more about those underpinnings, we will have the new medicine and direction that we need. As mentioned, President Obama's Brain Initiative benefited from $60 million of investment from the Allen Institute. And Paul's incredible commitment to the Institute is really leading the way on groundbreaking research. People said it a little more delicately, but with flat NIH funding, which is certainly the wrong direction, it makes what the Allen Institute is doing even more important. Maybe, in fact, you could take some of my colleagues and put them in the research column first, and we could figure out what exactly is wrong with our lack of commitment to NIH. But basic research embodies the best of what's happening here. You saw it, team science, big science, and open science. And as we learn more about human physiology, biological processes that promote human health and well-being, we will be able to shift more towards precision medicine. This is so important because precision medicine really does focus on the individual, the characteristics of the patient, and the fact that one size does not fit all. So precision medicine also increases the way to greater efficiencies. And so through the Brain Atlas project, scientists are embarking on really an unprecedented journey to map our brains, structure and the functions of organization, how the mechanisms underlying both structure and function. So this will provide a great, essential, and unique window into the gene activity in the human brain and could really hold the potential for great new advances. So I think Emily Dickinson said it best. The brain is wider than the sky. So thank you to the Allen Institute and this location for mapping this great new horizon. Thank you and congratulations to everyone. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Senator. As I mentioned earlier, none of this would be possible without the vision and generosity of our founder, Paul Allen. I know I speak for everyone here in thanking him for his vision, his willingness to challenge traditional models, and his commitment to making Seattle one of the leading research centers in the world. As a tribute to Paul, our Allen Institute team prepared this thank you video, and I'm very proud to share it with Paul here with us. So, Paul, what you've made possible, what the Allen Institute will make possible, is a tribute to your vision, your generosity, and your commitment to mapping a better future. As all of you know, in 1975, Paul co-founded Microsoft, a company whose software enabled millions and eventually billions of people to use computers for the very first time. Now, most people would be content with changing the course of history once, but Paul isn't like most people. He keeps on working, questioning, building, engaging others, pursuing knowledge, and challenging frontiers, whether those frontiers lie in the deepest ocean, the far reaches of space, or the mysterious intricacies of biological systems. But whether he's working to understand the brain, revitalize South Lake Union, defeat Ebola, save Africa's elephants, or share great art with communities across America, Paul Allen never forgets what is most important, envisioning a better future. Figuring out how to get there and showing people what is truly possible when we dare to think big. So please join me in welcoming a true visionary, a generous philanthropist, a civic champion, and our friend, the exceptional Paul Allen.
Thank you, Ellen, not just for those generous remarks and that amazing video, but for your friendship and leadership here over the years. This institute would not be possible without you and your incredible team. Earlier, it was mentioned that we also should thank everybody that made this building happen, both my own staff at Vulcan Real Estate, our architects, GOY Construction, and the entire institute's operational, administrative, scientific, and technical teams. Hundreds of people, as you saw, who have helped transform all these plans to reality. As several of the earlier speakers mentioned, in 2002, we put together a retreat of top neuroscientists. And I packed them all on a yacht in the Bahamas, and I thought maybe that would stimulate discussion, which it certainly did. And I asked the fundamental question: what can be done to move the whole field forward? And that sparked plenty of different points of view. And some of the attendees suggested, well, I could build another fantastic building to house an institute like a number of others that have already been done. But most of the work that they would do would be not focused in towards that institute necessarily, but with collaborators outside and around the globe. And that had somewhat limited appeal because I was trying to find a new metaphor, a new approach that would be really revolutionary. So the result of that was that really quickly the idea took root that we should do, as was already earlier mentioned, a complete and thorough survey of the genetics of the mouse brain. And today, 13 years later, we have executed not just that survey, but also the human brain, the developmental mouse and human brain, the spinal cord, and more. So that's a pretty amazing achievement in just over, to accomplish all that in just over 10 years. And those resources give investigators around the world a huge head start in their research, and they often use it on a daily basis. Still, the idea of having an ideal facility for both our work and our investigations nagged at me. I'm incredibly excited today. We have both amazing challenges and a wonderful new facility. This fantastic facility will now house all of our combined efforts under one rather large roof, as you saw earlier, with plenty of room to grow our efforts. This facility and the video we just watched says a lot about how we're tackling some of the biggest challenges in science. We're tackling them together as a team. I have an enduring belief in the power of collaboration, the importance of advanced technology, and the potential returns of our industrial scale science approach. But it is not just the concrete and glass of a new facility that is important. I have faith in the catalytic power of putting all of you in close proximity in an inspiring space like this one. By rubbing elbows here, great new ideas will hopefully emerge even more quickly. Over my life, I've grown increasingly fascinated by the workings of the human brain, which can do many things that no computer has to this point. The more I learn, the more I'm awed by its inherent power. But we aren't seeking to unlock the brain's secrets only from curiosity. Beyond that fundamental curiosity, we will be seeking to understand how we can better treat and perhaps even prevent such terrible afflictions as dementia, brain cancers, depression, Parkinson's, autism, and many other disorders and diseases. All of us know friends and family afflicted by such maladies, and I'm confident this team and its extraordinary work will help accelerate discoveries that will help the world overcome all these horrible conditions. That's another reason why the questions we're asking and the data and tools we're making available are so vitally important and equally urgent. Inevitably, the next generation of great scientific breakthroughs will emerge from collaboration across a broad range of disciplines, from physics and biology to computer science, mathematics, and engineering. And I think you saw from that video just the wide spectrum of different skills and abilities and talented people we've brought together here. I hope that gave you just a small taste of that. And I think it's inspiring for all of us to be taking part in these multi-decadal challenges and explorations to conquer the toughest problems. Because these problems are not things that are solved in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or even a single decade. These challenges will go on past a number of our lifetimes. These are incredibly deep, complicated challenges because of the inherent intricacies of biology. In this age of collaboration and these sorts of huge challenges, we are long past the point where any one scientist could solve a problem by themselves. These problems will only be solved by dedicated and determined people working as a team. And that is what we have here housed in the new building. Together with this institute, our goal is to change the course of scientific history. This is both ambitious and humbling, but I believe we have the people, plans, and focus to do it. Again, thank you all for making this possible, and I look forward to seeing the results of all of our work in the months, years, and decades ahead. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Paul, so much for those inspirational words. I should say for the whole team at the Allen Institute, we endeavor to live up to those very high expectations and deliver on our ambitious goals. We're excited to do so. So as our final note this evening, I'd like to recognize Congressman Jim McDermott, who is here in the audience. Where is Jim? He was also joining us here today. And I want to thank you for being able to celebrate this opening, the Allen Institute building. We're going to ask you now to all head into the atrium. We're going to do a ceremonial ribbon cutting. And then after that, of course, there's the party over at Mohi. So enjoy.